So let's talk about a really powerful idea. What if the key to success isn't about pushing harder, but about thinking smarter? We're going to dive into how to build success through what we'll call knowing instead of just brute force.
Does this sound familiar to you? You're putting in all the hours, you're grinding away, you're doing everything the hustle culture playbook says you're supposed to, but you just feel like you're running in place, maybe even going backwards. Well, you're definitely not alone, and believe it or not, there's a really good reason for that feeling.
All right, so first things first, we've got to tackle this massive myth that just dominates the way we work. This idea that applying more force, more pressure, is the only real way to get ahead.
You know, from our very first jobs, we're basically taught this simple, almost brutal equation. Effort equals results, right? If you need to hit a target, well, just make more calls. If you're facing a deadline, you just work more hours. It's this relentless push, this belief that if you just apply enough force, something's got to give.
But hold on a second. Let's really think about that logic. I mean, if pure exhaustion was the secret sauce, then the most burnt out, overworked teams would be winning all the time. And we all know, just from looking around, that that's simply not how it works. It's not true.
So this really breaks it down into two completely different ways of operating. On one side, you've got force. That's all about pressure, more hours, constantly chasing things, and just reacting to whatever comes at you. But on the other side, you have knowing. And this is a totally different game. It's about understanding, finding a rhythm, positioning yourself correctly, and anticipating what's coming next.
You see, the problem with the whole force approach isn't just that it's exhausting. The real issue is that it actively works against you. It creates all this resistance, all this friction at pretty much every turn.
Think about how this plays out in the real world. When you're operating from a place of force, you end up chasing prospects, and they can feel that desperation. You find yourself over-explaining your value because you're not confident it's landing. You jump to giving discounts because you're just trying to force a yes, and over time, all of that just burns through your credibility.
And here's the bottom line. You just might, close a deal or hit a quarterly target by pushing that hard. But it's always a short-term play. In the long run, it just leads to burnout. It breaks people, and it can even break businesses. It is just not sustainable.
Okay, so if force isn't the answer, then what is? Well, that brings us to a new, much more powerful path. It's really a fundamental shift in how we think, moving our focus away from the sheer amount of energy we're spending and towards the quality of the knowledge we're applying. So let's really define what we mean by this term knowing. It's based on a simple, but honestly, a profound idea. See, force just shuffles around the pieces that are already there. It rearranges things. But knowing, that's applying deep understanding and intelligence. That's what actually creates something entirely new. A new opportunity, a new solution, a whole new market.
I mean, this quote right here, it really says it all. True creation isn't a side effect of being exhausted. It is the direct result of applied knowledge. It's about intelligence that is directed with real purpose. And when you make this shift, the change is, well, it's huge. It's like you stop swimming against the current. That resistance we talked about just starts to drop. Conversations slow down. They become more meaningful. People can feel your confidence, and that builds real trust. And then something amazing happens. Decisions and opportunities start coming to you.
All right, so theory is great, but let's get practical. How does this principle of knowing actually get rid of all that friction? Let's take a look at how precision consistently, and I mean consistently, beats raw pressure out in the real world. Just look at the difference here. It's night and day. In sales, the force approach is all about pressuring the conversation. The knowing approach, it's about controlling the frame. In leadership, force demands that people comply. Knowing earns their alignment. And in strategy, force is always reacting to problems, while knowing is way ahead, anticipating them.
You know, we get this wrong all the time, don't we? We see intensity, loudness, busyness, just frantic energy, and we think, wow, that's power. But it's not. Real power, that's precision. It's the quiet, deliberate action that makes the biggest splash.
I want you to think about the most effective people you know. Really. Are they the ones who are constantly shouting about how slammed they are? Or are they the ones who just seem to see things before anyone else? They spot the patterns. They make these calm, deliberate moves that just work. Those are the people who operate from knowing.
So this is probably the big question on your mind right now. How do I actually do this? How do we make that shift from the exhausting hustle to this state of, effective precision? Let's break down how you can actually start applying this stuff today. Now let's be super clear about something.
This is not about being passive or doing nothing. It's the exact opposite. It's about replacing that frantic, desperate action with calm, intentional action that's guided by real knowledge.
So where can you start? Here are 3 incredibly powerful places to begin. 1. Before you ever make a pitch, deeply know your market. 2. Before you walk into a negotiation, know your leverage inside and out. And 3. Before you try to accelerate, know the natural rhythm of your industry. The right execution always follows intelligence.
And this is really the promise of this whole approach. A strategy that's built on force will eventually collapse under its own weight, but a strategy built on knowing, it creates momentum. Your successes start to build on each other and your outcomes actually compound over time. So we're going to leave you with this question to really think about. In your work, in your career, heck, even in your life, where are you just pushing against a wall with brute force, when a little more knowing could show you that there's a door right there just waiting for you to open it?